this is important for me. So I tell it from the other perspective in the books, whereas in television you have to cater to the market, you tell what is actually is. Television created a lot of, those were quite popular series when it came and all, but the television Ramayana and Mahabharata totally silenced the kind of variation in the Indian culture. There are so many variations of Ramayana, so many variations of Mahabharata or any other story. Like A.K. Ramanujan talks about 300 versions, but it's 300 complete versions. If you take partial versions, some stories, different stories of that, countless numbers are there in every Indian language and every Asian language perhaps, across Asia it is there. There are so many fantastic Ramayana and Mahabharata. What television did was it simplified it and it actually silenced all other voices and it caters to the lowest common denominator. So it strengthened the stereotypes. So what we are having, 1-2 generations have passed on since that came.
Right.
So what has happened is you have all caricatures and stereotypes of what the actual characters are. So you have the laughing, ha 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 ha, black-skinned Asuras and all those kind of things, more cartoonish rather than actual Purana. So it has taken away the depth and the layering and the philosophy of it and made it into something like spoon-feeding it in the most possible way. So that is what we are trying to fight. But the kind of, I also write for television because it pays you well and it reaches a lot of people and you have to, I have written more of television than books, but this is important. If you ask me which work is important for running the family, you need television, films and other things, but for your creative purpose, you need books.
Right.
So I explore both worlds. You may call it hypocritical, you may call it market-minded, but this is important for me. So I tell it from the other perspective in the books, whereas in television you have to cater to the market, you tell what is actually is.
And that's important. I mean, Asura, of course, if you haven't read the book, I believe Amazon says it's one of the 100 books to read in your lifetime. So I don't know if that recommendation means anything at all, but the fascinating thing about Asura was the treatment of people who are seen as the definitive villains for us, right? And even if you were to take the case of Ravan, arguably the arch villain, so to speak, the bad guy, he was a Prakan Shiv Bhakt. He was a master of the Veena. But what was displayed as his fatal flaw was his ego. And there's a story there. There's a learning there. There's a lesson there as well, which sometimes get lost in the oversimplification. Are we becoming a society who needs ideas spoon-fed to them?
Television made us like that. Television and the linear storytelling made it like that. That's what I said. Ravana is such a layered character, Ravana or Duryodhana are layered character, that these are the books which debates about dharma rather than telling you this is right, this is wrong.
Right.
So if Ravan had flaws, Ram also had flaws. Why? Because Ram is, in Valmiki Ramayana also, Ram is not God, he is an avatar of God. There's a fine difference between it. So when he is a human avatar, whether Ram or Krishna, they will have human flaws. Maybe not as prominent. So what was Ram's flaw? He is called Maryada Purushottam, that itself is his flaw. Right? So he suffers for that.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm not saying, see, what happens, it's a very Semitic concept of God, the perfect God who doesn't, the sky daddy kind of God.
Absolutely.
This is not like that. So here, everyone is subject to the laws of karma. Whether you are God or whether you are human or Asura or Rakshas or Gandharva or whatever it is, or human, animal. Buddha takes so many births in Jataka tales. Even as animal, the karma, the cycle of karma, the web of karma doesn't leave him. So that is where the basic philosophy is.
At times like these, where we are living, sometimes expressing opinions like the ones that you just expressed are, to use an understatement, not very popular. So you think we are living in also, we're increasingly beginning to live in times where the creative space of expression is shrinking? Would you agree?
I don't think so. I see, what I wrote cannot be written in many of the religions and stay alive after that. India has always given space for all kind of opinion. That's why there are so many Ramayanas and so many Mahabharatas. Many of the things which I said is not my invention actually. That Sita is the daughter of Ravan. At least 30 Ramayanas tell that. And this is prevalent for last 2000, 3000 years. It's nothing new. Why it gets prominence now is because many of the people, a villager will not be surprised. Because most of the, you talk to your grandma or granddad, they will not be surprised. They know about this.
Right.
People of our generation or the generation after that may get surprised because they don't know about it. Tradition has been that like 13th century, 14th century, 16th century, right from 2nd century BC, like Urubanga, the Sanskrit play, Duryodhana is the hero in that. Or Karnavara, right from Bhasa had done it 2200 years ago. Same thing had happened in many of the languages, in Malayalam, in Kannada, in many of the classical languages you take, in Tamil, in Bengali, 100, 150 years back, Meghanada Kavya came. In Kannada, 300, 400 years back, Gadayudh came. Malayalam, many of the classical theatre tradition has this. From this, there are temples for Ravan, temples for Duryodhana across the country. So, this has been a part and parcel of the tradition. Maybe for political reasons, somebody is trying to make Hinduism like a Semitic religion of dark ages, of the ages of crusades. That might be a very unfortunate thing to have. Otherwise, traditional Hindus or any traditional Indian religion will not have a problem, because atheism itself, of the 6 system of philosophy, 3 are atheist or agnostic. Buddhism itself is an agnostic religion. Jainism is deliberately an agnostic religion. Or atheistic religion even.